Welcome, my brothers and sisters in the uniform. Yes, it's time again for another special episode of Doc on the Road. I have the founder of VA Claims Insider, and I wanted to pick his brain for a little bit, and he's allowing me to do this. This is awesome. Before I get started, I just want to say welcome, Brian, and thank you for everything that you've done and what you're continuing to do for veterans.
You're so welcome, brother. I appreciate you having me on. I love Doc on the Road. I've been listening to the podcast episodes, and it's an honor to be here with y'all. For everybody listening, thanks for joining us. This is going to be special. We're gonna get raw. We're gonna get real and vulnerable, and I'm going to share some things with y'all that may help move you forward and might lead to some breakthroughs in your life.
Oh man, that is awesome. And to bring that up, I'd like to tell everybody a little story about myself. When I
Sure.
first came to VA Claims Insider, I actually had an old airborne buddy that sent me one of your videos. And he said, "Hey, check this out. Tell me what you think." And I sat there and watched the video, and it's probably one of the first times I actually felt like somebody cares. Somebody's listening.
Mm,
Somebody is really wanting to help.
mm,
I'm getting involved with this, and that's what I told my buddy. I'm getting involved, and I remember from day one when I signed up, and then I went back and watched I think three or four more videos that night, and I was so fired up because the whole system just seemed perfect. It seemed like somebody was listening, and that's what I wanted. I was a little jaded when I first started
yeah.
because nobody was listening. Nobody really seemed to care. But just
Yeah.
watching your video, that is the first thing that I got from you is seeing that and realizing, damn, there is somebody out there that really wants to help me and help my brothers
Wow.
and sisters. So becoming a part
Mm,
of that as a client was a thrill. And then, of course, I got the thrill of actually being a coach and listening to you all the time and learning more and more and more about you. I joke with the VCMs all the time about this that I feel like every other day that I'm in Bryant Reese University and I enjoy the classes and I just hope I pass. So,
of
brother,
course you do.
brother, I just wanted to tell you I will be eternally grateful for what you
Mm,
have taught me and what you put across to veterans that yes, there is a group that can care. There is a group that will put their arms around you and get you through this. And it's not just getting them through claims, it's also teaching them life lessons too. I've learned
yeah.
so much just listening to you and watching how you interact and how things work for you, but also know that it's okay to have those dark moments. It's okay to have
Yeah.
those as long as you have an outlet such as you, the organization, and a situation to get you through it. So, I know one question I've always wanted to know. What was your mindset when you started this? I mean, how did this come about? Just
Mm.
from the grassroots type thing.
The short answer is, what was my mindset at that time? Not very good. And so we'll dive deeper into that. But man, first of all, thank you for sharing that. It's humbling to hear kind words like that, and it's such a blessing to be able to share this platform with amazing human beings like you, Doc. And I hope you know that I feel that way about you. You're my brother, and the things that you have done to continue serving vets, amazing. I mean, the fact that you wanted to do this podcast, the fact that you've stuck through us, through ups and downs to get to where you are now, leading, teams as a manager, veteran coach manager, and you share so many things that I learned. And I think maybe a principle that I want to get across first is one of our core values at VA Claims Insider is learning. And like in a nutshell, I do my best to be a lifelong learner, because nobody knows it all. And, especially when it comes to things like the VA disability compensation system, it's so complex, and laws change and rules and regulations change. And you sort of always have to be a student of what's going on. And you've got to be curious, to learn, to dig, to challenge the status quo. And that's hopefully one of the things that we're instilling across our culture. And I want to pass that lesson on to anybody listening. Be curious. Think for yourself. Don't just take something that's sent to you or shared with you at face value. Look it up, dig into it, question things, and decide what you believe to be true, not just what somebody else says is true. And by the way, those are principles I'm trying to teach my kids. I've got a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 18-month-old. And I'm trying to teach them that an education is not about degrees. You want an education so you can take action and make a difference. And that's probably one thing that I've learned that I wasn't taught. It was sort of brought up in the school of militarism, of, you need all these certificates and you need all these degrees and you need to pass this squadron officer course to get promoted and blah, blah, blah. And it was all about you trying to check more boxes to get more promotions. And, when I transitioned out of the service, I realized that life's not about that at all. It doesn't matter how many degrees you have. It doesn't matter how many certificates you have. You have to be a student of life, and you have to be constantly learning and evolving. And so anyway, there's just one little principle for y'all as I delve into it. But I do want to answer your question about my mindset. So man, back in 2014, 2015, 2016, I was really struggling. I mean, in a nutshell, coming out of a deployment, I came home a very different person, a very, very dark, angry person. And, just dove head over heels into alcohol, drugs, gambling, you name it. I sort of chased the high and then tried to numb the high at the same time, and really destroyed my life. Ended a marriage and divorce, became partially estranged from my son for a while, just really sort of didn't feel like I belonged, that nobody understood who I was or, what I stood for or what I was going through. I had a good job at the time, but I literally felt like I couldn't find connection or meaning anymore. And really, in a nutshell, I lost my purpose after getting out of the military, and I sort of floundered. And, Doc, I really did what a lot of people do when they're struggling. And, typically it leads to behaviors of further self-destruction. And man, I'm telling you, I've shared this with so many people. Like, I should be dead multiple times over. No question about it. I mean, I did some really horrible, stupid things. And, by the grace of God and his forgiveness, I was able to come through it. And, here's another life principle for you. The single best decision I think I ever made in my life was giving up alcohol. And man, I'm telling you, like, my battle with alcohol was sort of an interesting one. And, I kept trying to justify with myself what I would and wouldn't do. Okay, well, I'm not going to drink hard alcohol anymore on weekdays. I'll reserve it for weekends. Okay. Well, all that led to was just more beer and wine on the weekdays. Right. So, I've sort of lived this life of constantly, doing the right amount of wrong when it came to substances, and just not really getting real about it and dealing with the problem. And I'll tell you, one of the breakthroughs came, and by the way, I'm not an alcohol hater. I have no issue with people drinking, none at all. In fact, people drink around me, no issues there. it's just not for me. I mean, I've figured out that I have a very, very addictive personality, and I can't even dip a toe in the water because I do, right? It's like foot in the door. I have a sip of beer, then I want a glass of wine, then I want to start taking shots. One's better. So two's better than one, four's better than two, eight's better than four. And it multiplies very quickly for me. So, I just don't touch it. And so here's a principle though that I want to share with y'all. Think about something in your life that is holding you back or standing in your way, okay, from becoming the person that you want to become. Maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's drugs, maybe it's gambling, maybe it's you're a workaholic, maybe it's you're an angry person, maybe it's pornography, maybe it's cheating on boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, whatever. We're all dealing with something. I truly believe this. We're all dealing with at least one thing that's holding us back from becoming the best version of us. Always. And usually they're the things that nobody knows about, right? They're the things that even those closest to us don't know. We know ourselves what they are, but others around us probably don't know. And if you've never really challenged yourself as to what the problem really is, you're never going to achieve a breakthrough. And by the way, that's one of the reasons why I encourage everybody to get a coach. Every single person in this country should have a coach. Hire a coach, a life coach, a business coach. Usually they bleed into each other. But a coach is going to help you see things that you just don't see it. There's blind spots. There's something about the way you operate that you don't notice. And maybe that one little thing is what the coach can help you unlock that leads to an entirely different level of performance. That's happened to me in my life multiple times. But again, I think the process of going through and coming to this realization of I should hire a coach to help me achieve a breakthrough, most people don't want to admit that because, again, immediately they have the self-limiting belief of I'm less than, or I'm strong enough to do it on my own, right? But they're missing the point. The coach is going to see things you can't see, number one. And number two, the coach is going to provide you with some accountability. Because guess what? There is one thing we suck at as human beings, and that is being accountable. It is so easy to make excuses for ourselves of why we don't move forward, why we don't take action, why we don't change something in our lives that could lead to a breakthrough. So anyway, going back, my mindset was not good at all. But with a coach, God, overcoming some of these addictions and deciding what I was going to be and what I was not going to be, that led to all of this entire movement of us serving veterans. And I think it all comes down to one thing, JT. I got clear on my purpose. When I left the military, I lost my purpose. Okay. I had to discover a new purpose. And that was to give veterans and their families hope and help them celebrate life change. And I'm telling you, I think about that every single day. Every morning I wake up, even on days that it's hard, I remind myself why I'm doing this. Okay. Why I'm doing this. Because there's a lot of days that are hard. Okay. Not just with what comes at you as a leader, but I still have a lot of bad days too. Right. I mean, I'm not perfect. I still make mistakes every single day. I still struggle. I still have anger issues. I still don't sleep well. I'm not immune to that. And I'm not, just some guy that's figured it all out, who's, leading a big organization, like I still have plenty of struggles too. And it's okay. I mean, bottom line is, y'all listening, it's okay to struggle, right? That's part of being a human. We all struggle, okay? And it's okay. And I'll stop there.
That is so awesome, and you're right on line with that. And something I've noticed too, everybody kind of equates us to you work with claims, you work with trying to get from one percentage to the next percentage. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing is building a culture that can actually teach and a culture that can actually guide other
Yeah.
veterans through this. So one of the biggest things that I always tell a veteran is when they're feeling negative and they're feeling like, uh, you know, the VA's out to get me, whatever they come up with, it's like, look, there's another veteran sitting on that sideline watching.
Yep.
There's another one that is sitting there going like, do I get involved? Do I not get involved?
Hmm.
We need to, as a group and as like you said, a culture, we need to come to the point where it's up to us to fix these issues with veterans. It's up to veterans to actually come
Yep.
together and actually put our arms around each other and say, brother or sister, I've got you. We're going to get through this. We're going to get you through it. We're going to get the next one over there. And the guy that's sitting down the road there that's actually looking at us, watching and seeing what we're doing. And that's
Yep.
something that I really learned from you is that goes on.
Yep.
When I first started, I started thinking about, okay, no, this is just about a claim. This is just about making sure I've got all this stuff lined up for the claim. It's not. It's about affecting change and life change. But
Yep.
and it's not just with the veteran, it is with their family. And we're also doing stuff that can be generational. There's something that I
Yep.
remember what I remember is when I saw my grandfather talk about, the pictures he had when he was in the service and World War II and stuff like that. When I saw those, I felt such pride. I think this culture is actually bringing back that pride. And that's what's actually helping veterans as well as going for their claims and getting recognized and realizing that they serve, they deserve. But there's also the thing that's turning it into a generational change to where we've also got the kids of those veterans looking up and probably future heroes sitting there. And
Yep.
I think that's very important. And I think that's something that you've really instilled in all of us coaches and all of us that are actually part of this organization. And I think there's times where, I'll be honest with you, I was on a meeting just a little while ago and I was bragging about how this was going to take place. And I actually got emotional because
uh,
this is what this is about now.
yeah.
It's about trying to get to a situation where we do that, and making
Man,
sure
I
that
couldn't agree
on the
more.
sideline is catching us and seeing, okay, I got to get in the game. That is where
Yeah.
I'm at in my mind, and it's brought on by you and the things that I've seen and hear you talk about all the time. Is just like I said, it's like Bryant Reese University that I'm going through, and I just hope I never
Oh,
graduate. You know what I
you,
mean?
bro, look, like I think adopt, for everybody listening, adopt this mindset that you're an eternal student. You never graduate. You're sort of constantly in this learning mode of being a sponge. Learn more, do more, be more. It's kind of a life philosophy. But you know, I want to address some of the stuff you brought up because it's things that I think about and things that I want to help change. So I see some of these Facebook groups, man, and some of the stuff that's happening online. We got to stop being so rude to each other. We got to stop being so mean to each other. I mean, I see how some veterans are treating other veterans, and it can be pretty nasty. Even just a question that somebody might ask. And so I would encourage vets again to just, let's all understand we're all in this together. We all have the same story, regardless of what branch we were in, regardless of what our job was, regardless of whether we deployed or not, regardless of our disability or job status, we all have the same story. And I think we have to remember the honor and the pride that comes from raising your right hand and taking that oath and saying, I'm going to do this. It's special. It's very, very special. And I would just like to see us be kinder to each other and love each other more than we are. So that's one area where I'm trying to focus some attention, is really on this serving aspect of other veterans, regardless of their situation. The second thing I want to talk about, life change and what that actually means. And yeah, people will say, oh, you guys are a claims company. We're really not. I mean, yeah, we can absolutely help you get your VA disability benefits through the VA. We're really good at that. But it's bigger than that. The goal is larger than that. And so let me share a little bit about my dream. Okay. My dream, there's 18 to 20 million veterans who are alive today. Okay. My dream is for every single one of them to reclaim their identity that they lost when they left the service. My goal is to provide them with a safe place, a community where they feel important again. Every single one of them. 18 million. Okay. My larger goal and dream beyond that, as you stated, is to start affecting generational change and starting with the veteran population. And so let me give you an example of what I mean by life change and generational change. Okay. We help a veteran get the VA benefits that they deserve. Okay. Every single penny, nothing more, nothing less. That event alone is a financial catalyst to change a veteran and their family's life forever. Okay. But we don't stop there. So all of a sudden, now that happens. And the next thing you know, that veteran and their family qualify to have all of their student loans discharged, brought to zero. Okay. Now that veteran potentially qualifies for property tax exemptions on their primary residence. Okay. Again, more life change. Now that veteran might be eligible for educational benefits. I'm not talking about GI Bill benefits. Maybe there's educational benefits that they're now eligible for not just them, but also their dependents. So now maybe a son or a daughter is considering going to college when maybe they weren't before because they didn't know how they were going to pay for it. But now there's something available to help them. Okay. So now you've set a catalyst where you may change somebody's life by helping them pursue something in a higher education institution that leads to something down the road that's even bigger, that causes a bigger ripple effect that changes more people's lives. Okay. The other thing I want to do that's part of my dream, I want more veterans to start businesses and own businesses. There was a time post World War II when US military veterans started and owned a lot of companies and did a lot of amazing things because we freaking rock, man. We do. We freaking rock, and we take action and we get things done. Hey, we're mission oriented. We're leaders. But I've seen us take a step back. I see fewer veterans starting and growing businesses, and I think we need to change that in this country. We need to reverse it. Okay, but again, part of the dream, part of the catalyst, this is how you create generational change. It's so much bigger than the claim. So much bigger than the claim. And that's the stuff that gets me so excited. Because when I look at our movement, we have barely scratched the surface of what we're going to be. And I can see it. And I know we're going to get there. And that's the stuff that gets me excited every single day. It keeps the flames burning. I'll stop there.
No, that's awesome. And that is exactly why you have so many that are willing to join this fight with you. Is because of that type of thought. That's what we've a lot of us veterans have been waiting for or wanting is somebody that will actually say, "Hey, look, I've got you. We're going. Let's go. Move to the
Yeah.
objective. Keep going." I love what you say there, and I know I promised that I would only keep this to a certain amount of time because you're a busy guy. Uh,
That's okay. We can keep going.
okay, awesome. Um, there's a couple of things. I'm glad that you brought that up in the future. There's a couple of things that plague us as veterans. The 22 a day
Yeah.
that I talk about in classes and talk about different things that really seems to really plague us. And it seems like we're all waiting for an answer on that, but I think the answer is right in front of us. We got to cultivate this type of culture. We've got to get together, and we actually need to start protecting ourselves and each other.
Yeah.
Protect, your brother's back, protect your sister's back. That type of mentality to where when we do that, I think that's going to not only make that number come down, but probably disappear because we're actually working with each other to get us through that. I know you've done some stuff with some organizations that I followed suit with you and made sure that, okay, I know what I want to fight for. This is one of those type of things that I want to fight for. And I know that you're also in the fight for that too. So I think so. I'm wondering with what you have said already, what's a good way that we can all come together and probably start addressing this, not only addressing it, but tackling the issue of that?
Yeah. Man, I am so passionate, as I know you are, and so many other, veterans and folks in our movement, including those JT like you who are actually part of our movement. Um, one suicide is too many. A single suicide, in my opinion, is unacceptable. And so, whether it's 20 to 25 a day, I don't know exactly what the recent stat is on veteran suicide, but it's around 20 to 25 a day still. And I think part of the thing that it's interesting to me when I see people who are surprised when, they see a decorated Navy SEAL who's, this leadership author coach who commits suicide. And it's like, oh my gosh, I couldn't, like, how did anybody not see that? Like, how did they not see the warning signs? Look, we just have to get freaking real about the issues. I'm telling you, I believe every single U.S. military veteran, every single one, is suffering from issues with mental health. Whether it's diagnosed or not, whether they're willing to admit it or not. I truly believe every single one has some stuff going on. Okay. So I'll start there because what I see are all these organizations just dancing outside the lines and they're not going after it. Okay. The VA are saying things like 10 to 15% of Iraq and Afghanistan veterans present with post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay. Well, let's peel the onion back. They're only counting the numbers of veterans who are actively seeking treatment at the VA. Okay. Well, how many millions hate the VA, despise the VA, don't trust the VA? They're not going to go there for mental health care. So again, you have these doctors and folks looking at VA studies who are putting out numbers that I believe are not even close to the real numbers. I believe the numbers are significantly higher because they're underreported. Okay, so let me just start with the issue of mental health. Until we deal with that and the underlying causes of the mental health crisis we're facing, I don't think we're going to see suicide rates drop. I really don't, because I believe that's the issue. So let's peel it back even further. if I think mental health is the primary issue, let's dig deeper than that. Why are there mental health issues in the first place that aren't treated or aren't diagnosed or aren't even realized, I think, by a lot of veterans, or they don't want to realize it. Some of it is they don't want to acknowledge it. I think that what happens, man, when we take off the uniform is we lose our identity, we lose our sense of purpose, we spiral into self-isolation and aloneness, and we're suffering from a crisis of connection. And by the way, we could expand that way beyond U.S. military veterans. I believe our world is suffering from a crisis of human connection. We are the most connected we've ever been in the history of the world, and yet we're the most disconnected we've ever been because we've lost the human connection. I've studied plenty of biology. I've studied plenty of human beings in the making. Okay. We were not meant to stay as basic hunter-gatherers alone. So what happened? We went from hunter-gatherer, we became groups. We got together. We realized there was a benefit of being with one another in person, physically, touching, fist bumping, hugging, connection, human connection. We lived together. Okay. And then we started to specialize. We said, hey, why don't you do this? I'll do this. You do that and I'll do this. I'll hunt. You take care of the kids. Right. We started to specialize and we saw the benefits from that. And then we started farming. I mean, all of this stuff is connected. I just don't think people think about it this way. But I believe the mental health crisis in the U.S. military veteran population stems from we've lost our sense of purpose, we've lost our identity, we've lost our sense of connection. And until we repair that, until we fix it, I don't think we're going to make any significant strides reducing military and veteran suicide.
Yeah, that's a quite poignant. I mean, that's like right on the head. And I think you're right. We did go through those stages through human, whatever you want to call it, growth. But we have gone through those stages, and I know when I was in, I had a group of about six that were right there with me all the time. I would do anything for them. They would do anything for me.
Yeah.
And we've had that thing that goes beyond. I said there's a couple stages of love. There's that stage when you're part of something that you almost feel like you have to be part of it. And you're right. As soon as we take that uniform off, we lose that. Or the ability to reach out later. I noticed that too, working with veterans, is sometimes we lose that. Well, they're busy. I don't want to do that. Um, that's why one of the groups that I'm with, we actually started something on Facebook where we check in with each other each day. Just a
Wow.
simple thumbs up. That's all it is. And now we've got one of my old first sergeants actually monitors it. And if you
Hmm.
miss 2 days, you're getting a phone call.
I love it.
And I got busy here at work one week, and I didn't respond for 2 days. And I got a phone call, and man, it was like sitting in front of him like I did something wrong when I was in. So I was like, pretty soon I'm going to be doing push-ups the way this guy's talking to me. But if that's what it takes, that's what we need to do. And I think you're right that that will actually help with changing the mindset of mental health, changing the old stigmas, the old stuff like that. Look, if we're going through something, we need to have somebody to bounce stuff off of, and that goes back to what you said earlier about having a coach, having somebody that's going to be in the fight with you. So I really
Man,
do appreciate it.
you're welcome. And I mean, what you're saying resonates. And you're talking about accountability. That's
Right.
one of the things that the military is great at. is accountability, right? I mean, you better freaking be there or you're getting written up. Like, this is your duty. You better be here at 05:45 for PT, right? Or you're getting written up. There's an accountability aspect that happens with the structure in the military on active duty that a lot of us, we don't realize how much it's affected us and how much we need that accountability and structure when we leave. Okay. But what happens is when we get out, there isn't that same level of accountability and structure. Well, how do we get it back? We have to create it. So just like you stated, that's one thing to do is create a group, get a bunch of brothers and sisters in there, start developing a relationship, start doing buddy checks. And you know what? Let's make the assumption that every single one of us is dealing with mental health issues. Let's just take it off the table. So, like, JT, think about it this way. We're so good at looking at outward appearances and being like, oh man, you look great. You must have, you look like you lost some weight, been at the gym, doing your thing. We're like checking on each other. We check each other physically, but we don't check each other mentally. And I'll give you an example. Our president, Terrell Morrell, my brother, he literally called me yesterday and just said, hey man, mental health check. How you doing? And we just talked for 5 minutes. Mental health check. And I shared with him some stuff. Man, I've been angry about this. I'm struggling with this. I'm not sleeping good because of this, blah, blah, blah. We're all dealing with the same thing. And until we just go freaking right at it, I don't think we're ever going to see changes. Now, the good thing is I see society, some of the stigma is starting to go away. Okay. Because what's happening is some of the thought leaders and some of the people that we tend to think of as the big bad beasts that are at the top of their game with no issues, they're coming out saying, you know what? I got problems too. Okay. I don't know how many people know this, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson issued a statement not too long ago that said one of the biggest breakthroughs I ever had in my life that changed my life was realizing that my depression was not just isolated to me, that a ton of people are depressed. And I'm not alone. And it's okay to talk about it. Okay? That's just one example. If you go look at the tippy top, who you think of as the tip of the spear, Navy SEALs, the biggest, baddest humans out there. If you asked them, I guarantee you every single one of them is dealing with severe mental health issues. You just might not notice it, but they're all dealing with it. Like even these people who are out speaking, $100,000 speaker fees, the heads of companies. We've seen U.S. senators and congressmen and women come out and say, I'm dealing with mental health issues. I need to tap out. I'm taking medications. For the first time, we're seeing that. Okay. So look, nobody is immune to this stuff. Not even your kids. And gang, I'm telling you, this is a humble request. Get up in your kids' chili and start talking to them. I don't care how old they are. Okay, I'm going to share something with you that rocked my world. My 7-year-old son at the time, this was 3 years ago, was talking about suicide. 7 years old. Okay? I'm telling you, gang, y'all got to get up in your kids' biz. And you got to ask them what's going on. And you got to dig deeper. Because there's a lot of crap going on at school. And a lot of junk going on in what these children are consuming and what they're seeing every single day they're being bombarded with. And if you don't deal with this stuff as parents and you don't get in their business, I know how this ends. And I don't want that for you. Okay. And again, back to U.S. military vets, one part of this dream that I have is creating not just an entire movement of 18 plus million veterans and their families who are all connected, but to start subdividing this and to start creating pockets in cities and in counties. Okay. We got to take it back. We got to take it back because what we did is special. We are special. We are a critical part of this country and determining this country's future. And I'm telling you, if we don't band together to change this country, nobody else will.
That's right.
Nobody else will if we don't do it. And for me, I feel like I've stood on the sidelines for too long. That's my fault. I apologize. But I want to get more involved. And I think it starts with going neighborhood to neighborhood. You got to get in the streets, man. I just met a Navy vet. He lives 3 houses down from me, and I didn't even know. I just found out today. And the only reason I found out is I sent out an email to our neighborhood, like, hey, when are we going to get together and do a neighborhood thing? Like, I'd love to have you all down here. Just stop by, bring something to share, whatever. And he wrote back and he's like, beat Air Force. And he must have looked me up. He literally said beat Air Force. And I wrote back and I said, whoa. What are you? And he wrote back, he's like, I'm Navy. And I'm like, you squid, So anyway, but now we're going to connect. But this guy lives in my street. He's 3 houses down from me. And I didn't even know that. And I've lived here for 3 years.
Right.
That's a problem, y'all. We don't even know our neighbors anymore. Get out in the streets and meet your neighbors. That's how we're going to change this. You got to start in the street. And once you got the neighborhood, you got to take the surrounding neighborhoods. And once you have that, you got to take the county and the town. And once you got the counties and the towns, you can take the state. And once you take the state, you can take the nation. But we have to start there at the grassroots. And we got to focus on connection. And dang it, I'm guilty of it too. I'm guilty of sitting behind my laptop and hiding behind it. But I'm telling you, there's something that happens to you as a human being when you do a little bit more, reach out and you go knock on somebody's door and you fist bump them, you shake their hand, you hug them, you tell them to come over, you shoot the crap with them, you tell a joke, you smile, you change. You biologically need that. But again, we're suffering from an epidemic of disconnection. We're the most connected we've ever been, and yet we're not connected.
I totally agree. And it so awesome. Yeah, it's funny that you said that about the Navy guy because I always joke with Terrell Burrell about being in the Navy, and I was in the Army. So we constantly go back and forth with that beat Army, beat Navy, that kind of thing. But one thing I did notice that is so funny with that, that if anybody else outside us say it, I'm ready to jump with them. I'm ready. No, whoa, you better leave him alone. I don't want to hear you talking about that. You have no idea what it took to be in the Air Force. You have no idea what it took to be and it's like, protecting the little brother thing, it's kind of funny.
It is funny. And I have so much, we joke, right?
Right.
I have so much respect and admiration for my brothers and sisters in other branches. I tell people this all the time. I don't think I could have made it in the Army. I'm serious. I don't think I could have made it as a Marine. I'm serious. I don't feel like I have that rugged, tough mindset.
Right.
But I'm glad that y'all did and served and stood up. Like, dude, I was in the branch I was supposed to be in. No doubt about it. Air Force, right? Maybe I could have gone Navy. Maybe I could have gone Space Force. Maybe I could have gone Coast Guard. But, we joke about it. But I really, really, truly do admire my fellow brothers and sisters. And, when I say thank you for your service, I mean that. and
Right.
I typically share it with something else, right? I mean, here we are coming up on Memorial Day, right? We know we're going to hear people come around and say, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. You're like, what are you talking about? This is Memorial Day. This isn't Veterans Day. Guess what? I guarantee you the majority of our country doesn't know the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day.
That's true.
That's a problem. Okay. And it's on us to help educate them. I don't think it's on them. I think it's on us. So if someone tells you thank you for your service on Memorial Day, politely correct them. Don't be a jerk about it.
Right.
But you can say, hey, I appreciate that. Memorial Day is when we remember the fallen, and I remember them today, and so I hope you do too, right? There's a polite and gentle way of sort of reminding folks what it really means, because you can't make the assumption that they know, because they probably don't.
Right. Oh man, Brian, you are so awesome. That oh man, it hits home so hard. But I tell you what, we do have to go ahead and end this. You are more than welcome back anytime you want to come. A matter of fact, just let me know if I'm in the middle of one with somebody. I will let you in. So, that's the way I feel about this. Love you, brother. Thank you for sharing all that you shared. And vets, brothers and sisters in the uniform, I hope you really took away a lot of stuff today. But I think the one thing I really want you to really get is this is a community, and we play
Yeah.
all of our parts in it. We need to help each other through this. So thank you, Brian. I really do appreciate it. And man, I can't wait till this comes out so everybody can hear this.
You're welcome, brother. I love you. Thank you so much for all you do. You're a great leader, JT.
Oh man, I appreciate that. All right, brothers and sisters, it's come to that time. This is Doc out.
See y'all.